Okay. So thank you so much. Super excited to chat with you to talk all things product. We'll talk about fractional leadership. We'll talk about teaching and all the many areas that we intersect. That's one of the things that I admire about you, and similar to me, that we are involved in many different areas, right?
Mhm.
Um, so that being said, why don't you give us a super quick introduction about how you describe yourself in the world?
Wow, that's a good question. Super quick. So I love building new things. I love creativity, and I also love teaching and helping other people. So where in the past my career went through several changes, but I was always building one product at a time, first as an engineer for 20 years, and then as a product person for another 12, 13 years. These days, I'm trying to help as many companies build as many products as possible. And with that, and the teaching part of this is also bringing the real experience from real life, industry to people that really need that. So that's a very, very high level.
That's great. Yeah, and we'll dive into some more of the specifics.
Mhm,
Um, in terms of products, you're one of the go-to people I think of when I think of product.
mhm.
You've helped build over 20 products across different industries. So what are some of the common mistakes that you see founders making again and again when it comes to product?
Yes, so a few of them. One of the main ones is not listening to the market and to the users, but rather coming up with ideas and believing that those ideas are the best ideas in the world. Pet projects of founders happen in many size organizations. It could be the CEO, it could be a founder that is still with the company for many years after. But I've been in those situations that it was a pet project. We put a lot of resources in it. The bottom line was not there. So that's really like getting out of your um, ego for founders and out of the things that in your head have the humility to say, I'm not sure that this is right. I don't know everything that I don't know. Other things probably is, not asking for help or not trying to get people in there that are actually they know what might work, might not work, and even if it's not a full-time help, it could be fractional, it could be consulting, it could be whatever it is. Sometimes it's worth that investment to save a lot of money in the long run.
That makes a lot of sense for sure. And of course, depending on your stage and your funding round, of course, there's so many variables as well there. But it's great to see that there's these kind of commonalities no matter what the industry is.
Mhm.
Um, so when it comes to emerging technology, AI, obviously you're connected to the space. You and I both see all kinds of, thought leadership and posts and content out there. What trends do you think are ones that actually matter for startups today that they should be paying attention to versus ones that might just be kind of, a little bit of hype or distractions?
Yeah. We have no choice but talking about AI. And this is really like the biggest trend right now. And it's still a trend versus like an established technology. And it's been like that for over 2 years, I believe. So it is really important to pay attention to what is going on and start adopting it and being flexible about adopting it. So that's definitely is not going anywhere. I was also very skeptical about it when it started because I didn't trust it, and to some extents there are still some products that I don't trust today, and I'm still wearing my skeptic hat sometimes when I'm using it. But that's also the important part of that to be skeptic about it and see what works and what's not, and not to be led by it blindly. The other flip side of that is either those people that don't wear this skeptic hat or adopting patterns that don't fit everything. So I've seen it, and I talked a lot about it on my podcast. I've seen this pattern of emerging new products that are using the same ChatGPT style user experience, but it doesn't work for every product. So a product that is replacing maybe days and days and days of work for a product person, but I have to think about a lot of prompting very deeply and then getting these lengthy documents that I have to read as a result, which is not really what I was looking for. So don't replace one thing with another thing that might not be a good fit for that. So that's what I'm trying to get people to be aware of: the trust first, and then not every problem, this pattern is a good solution for it.
Absolutely, that makes sense. Not just kind of defaulting to it, right? If
Mhm.
everyone's using it. On a side note, what do you think of the whole idea of vibe coding, which a lot of people have been talking about, which is, relying on AI to actually build products and tools?
Yeah, I think it's a great thing if you know what you're building and if you know how you're building it. So I've seen a lot of examples of founders that don't have any backgrounds in building products, and they vibed with whatever product that is out there, and it gave them, very mediocre results, for someone like me that have all of this experience seeing these type of products, and saying, would people actually use these type of products or not? So it might be good for validation of the idea. So to do it fast and quick and cheap, that's great for some validation. But to maybe for an MVP, but for beyond that, there is definitely a lot of more other intricacies that goes into the product. And the main thing is really that if you have not built products in the past, whether as an engineer or on a product team, you usually only think about the happy path. And even engineers, when they start, junior engineers usually will start only with a happy path. But most of the time, we actually put on the non-happy path all the edge cases that could happen. Everything that could get wrong will get wrong. So experience in building products is really important there. And I don't know how much people without that experience actually think about these things. Probably they don't. And then the results they're getting from the vibe coding or whatever tool that they're using is really not always taking care of those things.
That makes a lot of sense for sure. If you don't know what to look out for, then you can't respond accordingly, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
awesome. And on that note, very related to vibe coding, I think, is the role of building an MVP. How do you see the role of MVPs evolving? Given that, of course, customers expect a more polished experience out of the gate, especially with AI. People expect things to look perfect right away. So how do you see the role of the MVP evolving?
Yeah, I don't think that these expectations are valid if you, as a founder, set up the expectations properly. So when you set up the expectation, this is an MVP, and you send a bit more words than just this is an MVP, because MVP is also a very has lots of definitions by lots of people and what it should be and what it shouldn't be, or what is it. And if you're not setting up the expectations with your clients that this is really just an MVP, then yes, they will have those expectations. But if you are promising or making them think that this is already a done product, it probably doesn't matter whether you spend a year developing it with 10 developers or you just did a few sessions with an AI tool that does it. It's really about the expectations of the user. So maybe users these days will expect things to be faster, but I'm not sure that it's about really the quality of the end product, more about how you position in it when you actually give it to them to try.
Absolutely, that makes sense. Um, Now, when it comes to not necessarily building your own tools, but as a founder, looking at all the tools that are available to founders right now,
Mhm.
how can founders avoid, app overload or tool overload and focus on kind of, creating real value when there's so many options out there?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I always say that And whether it is for founders or for anyone doing any job, it's not about the tools that you have. It's about you being able to actually do the job, to execute the job. So in the past, I had people that I worked with that complain, I don't have these tools, so I cannot do this, and I don't have these tools, so I cannot do that. These days, it's about AI. Back then, it was about other tools. So it's not really about the tools that they have. It's more about, do they even know how to execute it, whether they have the tool or not. And yes, the tool will help them execute it maybe faster, maybe better, whatever that is. So with that, I would say don't get too bogged down by complexity of a lot of tools. First, see what is it that you really have to do. You can try different tools. You can, evaluate different things, how they work. But sometimes doing it the hard way might be better for you to actually learn what's going on, what's in the weeds, and how things are actually working. And maybe you already have that experience, and then it's a good idea to bring AI to help you with that. um,
Yep,
yeah.
makes sense. Absolutely. Um, and sometimes it's about finding the right combination of tools, because certainly some of the tools that I've used have then added additional features that then can replace the separate tools, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
yeah. Things are
um,
evolving over time.
exactly. So let's talk a little bit more about less about AI and tools, and more about fractional leadership and consulting,
Hmm.
right? So I've done fractional marketing advising and fractional marketing leadership. You of course provide that on the product side.
Hmm.
So I'd love to kind of get your take here. You've worked as both a full-time product leader and as a fractional advisor. What would you say is the unique benefits of having a fractional leader for startups?
Yeah, product is an interesting one because in product, first of all, it's less known that it's possible to do. There is many more in marketing, in finance, in legal, etc. But the other thing is also the question is when to hire the first product person. And this is a question that I'm hearing from founders, from startups, from investors, from advisors, etc. It is actually really good to have an in-house product person, but most of the times, early stage startups, one of the founders will wear that hat of being a product person, whether they know it or not. Some of them will know it because they've been in product before. Some of them, they do it just by their own talent, that they know they have this sense that they have to do it. And some of them may not do everything, and that could be some of the reasons for failure. So I would say that it's really important to have someone that knows product or understand product and knows a lot of the tools and frameworks and what work and what not and what to look for from day one, from early on. But because it's very hard for early stage founders to, you know, hire someone full time to uh, pay for that, then fractional is a great idea if you don't have that experience on your team. And that fractional person can give you a lot of hands-on experience, a lot of strategy experience, and can also over time grow with you and can help you hire your full-time. And I've seen many startups that are hiring someone junior to that position because they don't have a lot of experience. Maybe they don't pay them a lot, but it also comes, with the less experience. So there is always that
Yeah,
balance as well. How much experience do you want to get right off the bat?
I think that's the balance that I see with startups is, you
Hmm.
can be very early stage and not have funding. And so you get whoever's available to do it either for free, for equity, or, just at a very low rate because they're more junior full time versus someone who isn't available full time or wouldn't be in the budget to hire them full time because they're senior salary. However, they as a fractional can provide a lot of insight, and in my opinion
Exactly.
maybe even more expertise because they've worked with several clients and building several products. So
Exactly.
um, do you think that that is going to be a trend moving forward, not just with the most common one like CFO and CMO now, but also with product?
I do hope so. And one of the main things about that is making or getting startup founders to realize that they need that. So founders know they need legal support, they know they need financial support, they know they need marketing support, they know they need technical support to build a product. They don't always know, and in many cases they don't know, and I know it from fact because I've dealt with so many. They don't know that they need product support, and that's one of the things I'm trying to educate the ecosystem, that product is not as less important than other things. Actually, it's in the core of everything, because if you don't have a good product, then it doesn't matter anything else that you do, or if the product doesn't solve the right problem, then it doesn't matter anything that you do. You
Yeah,
probably will not be very successful.
there you go. So it's key. What if you don't have a good product to sell? Then you don't need people selling it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Um, okay. Let's talk about your idea of impact. I obviously work a lot in social impact. I love working with communities,
Mhm.
nonprofits, and I wanted to talk to you about your products for good platform, and
Mhm.
specifically, what does good mean to you in the context of product design and innovation?
Yeah. So I've been tired seeing products that solve one problem and create many other problems. Um, Mainly with social media, but that's not the only one. I've been a user of social media. I still am, but I reduced it to only one. I'm just on LinkedIn. I don't use any of the others. I might have some accounts out there, but I don't look at them, so don't send me any messages there. And because I've seen so much bad stuff happening, globally, locally, and mentally to me, using those products. So to me, it's really about when we're trying to build new solutions for problems, whether there are existing problems, old problems, or new problems, please don't create new problems in the world. Now, I know it's tough. It's not an easy thing. We know these days, we talked about AI before. We know AI is a very risky thing that can create a lot of problems. Um, but we really have to be conscious about it when we build our products and our solutions, because otherwise it's probably going to happen that we are creating some new problems in the world.
Of course, and I think there's also, it opens up a lot of discussions around ethics, which we hear coming up a lot more in the space of AI, whether it's
Mhm.
where the data sources are coming from, or the privacy, or which other businesses or individuals are being kind of taken advantage of to make the whole system work, right? So
Yeah.
there's a lot to discuss there. So I love your
Mhm.
focus on using products for good.
Mhm.
Sometimes even well-intentioned products, though, I think have unintended negative consequences.
Mhm.
How can founders build more responsibly? What's your advice?
Making it part of their strategy. So when you strategize about, how you're going to get to where you're trying to get, you have a vision for the world, how you're going to change the world, you have a vision for the product specifically, then you have to strategize with that. If you don't put ethics into it, and if you don't define upfront, this is what success means to us with these constraints of, how ethical it should be. And ethics is also quite flexible, because some people have different moral compasses. So if they don't put it in the strategy, then probably it's not going to be part of it, and it's going to be neglected. And there is not going to be any warnings up front that something is going on. So like anything else, if you don't put in your strategy, specific success criteria or where you're going to get, then probably you will not measure that, and you will not even know. If you don't put in your strategy security or privacy or other things. Now, some of those things are being forced by different compliances, by different governments, etc. But not everything is being forced. And then it's our job as founders and people that build products to make that happen, from the ground up. So that's really the first step. After that, everything should follow if you follow your strategy, of course.
That makes sense, of course, and it has to be aligned at the end of the day, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, I think nowadays people are also much more aware from a marketing, community management, and brand perspective. They're aware of products and companies and startups and brands and tools that are, not practicing what they preach. So, it's almost worse if you're, saying that you're, for example, let's say very sustainable, you have sustainable practices and you're zero emissions as a company or as a technology. And then all of a sudden people find out that that's only a small percentage of your business and you actually are not really keeping up to these standards. I think
Yeah.
that's actually worse.
Yeah.
And
Exactly. Exactly.
there's a lot, yeah, there's a lot more issues that people will call you out nowadays.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
responsibility is, I think, important. Now, I was speaking to someone earlier today, who has, he's raised a fund, he's been involved in mentorship and a lot of accelerators, and I asked him about, the focus on having a focus on social good startups.
Hmm.
And, he was saying that, from some of the experience he's had, a lot of the social good business models tend to be or can be less profitable, for example,
Hmm. Hmm.
or more so that there's consumers aren't necessarily as willing to pay a premium for healthier products or for more, sustainable products or ethical
Hmm.
products.
Hmm.
When it comes to, technology and tools, um, it could be a little bit different. But do you think that doing good and scaling profitably are at odds, or do you think that they can kind of, reinforce each other?
I want to believe that they are enforcing each other, and I know some stories about some founders that are getting attention because of their social aspects in there. Maybe more on the services side than product, but it could work also in product as well. The maybe the main thing here is that startups are being built with a lot of investor support, and the investor support at the end of the day, it's about the bottom line of getting the return that they want to get. So many times these things are getting pushed aside or forgotten because of that push to be successful and to make the money, right? So there is definitely that side of the coin that is maybe in a position for each other, but I really want to believe that the ecosystem is there and the people mindset is there these days to make that a successful thing for the future. Um, I've tried to do a few things a couple of years ago and last year related to non-for-profit, and I've seen how much there is even a bigger gap over there between what they need to build and their ability to build it, because no one cares about their problems because there is no money in their problems. So at least there is the in between stages of social aware companies that are really social aware companies and are really trying to do good. um, Maybe only time will tell.
I think so. And I think there's going to be a lot more um, emphasis on, products that are solving real world problems and,
Hmm.
not strictly there to capitalize on an opportunity. I think that there's a lot of real world problems and challenges.
Hmm.
And there's some exciting ways that technology is kind of getting in there and solving them. So,
Yeah.
I'm with you in taking the optimistic lens, that's for sure.
Hmm.
And kind of doing what I can to support and mentor those businesses and founders that are looking to solve problems that
Hmm.
don't just create another problem, as you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier.
Yes.
Um, Now we'll switch gears to talk a little bit about teaching and community building because I know both of us are involved in teaching at the post secondary level.
Hmm.
You teach design thinking and emerging technologies at a business school, which is very interesting. Obviously, Schulich School of Business. Um, Now, that's not necessarily the most common program there. So I wanted to ask you what it's like teaching that at a prestigious business school.
Yeah, it's very cool. I found it really interesting. I love interacting with the students, etc. It also shows the importance of um, technology as part of the MBA studies and being the next generation of leaders. Um, Technology is really a core in the programs, so they have to go through some type of technology. Depends on the program that they do. There is many different type of programs, and part of the one of the streams that this is related to is digital transformation. So getting those new future leaders to understand that they will have to be part of some digital transformation because technology is changing all the time. And this is not a new concept. It's just the technology, emerging technology is coming up all the time. And part of being doing that successfully is also being innovative about that. And innovation doesn't have to be about starting a startup. It could be within the organization, solving the problems that you have with the aid of technology. And that's where design thinking is coming into the picture. So there is a lot of those tools and frameworks and way of thinking that are really important for MBA students, whether they're doing accounting or finance or you know marketing or whatever their stream. It's still a mindset and a different way of thinking that can apply to many different problems that they will have in the future. So I really love that the school is doing that, and they gave me the opportunity to create, a design thinking course over there and to teach it. So that's an amazing was amazing opportunity for me, and I love teaching it because the students are very much excited about learning this.
That's great. That's really exciting to hear as well.
Hmm.
So outside of the university setting, you run group programs for founders.
Hmm.
What are some of the patterns and things that you're noticing between, the ones who succeed or continue along with their product and those who kind of give up or the
Hmm.
product fails?
Yeah, I think two things that comes to mind. One of them is their own passion for the specific problem they're trying to solve. So it's not just they found a problem that they thought was cool to work on and then they just decided to work on it, but they actually have that problem, that either a personal problem or a business problem, or they know the problem. And the second thing is their flexibility and humility to change. And I mentioned that a bit earlier as well. So when they learn that things are not working, they are flexible to make changes, and they're not, just trying to um, fit a round thing into a square hole. They're basically really looking into what works, what's not, etc. So those usually I would see that are more successful, and many times this is also the mindset of great product managers, that they do have that mindset of trying things and failing fast and moving forward.
I think that's really interesting. Um, when it comes to the whole community building work that you do, because you don't work in isolation. A lot of startups
Mm.
and founders are about community.
Yep.
You have a podcast that you host. You teach. You do events. What are some of the conversations that you're noticing that product leaders or founders are looking to have? What are they asking about? What kind of topics are they craving?
Mm. It's a very interesting question because I think that many of them are very specific to the state where they are. So it's good. It only means that it could be very different discussions for each one of them. So some people, it's really about very tactical things that they have to do, how to do X or to do Y, how to build an MVP or how to launch it to the market, or how to build a alpha program or things like that. And Other things is also about reach out to the network to learn from other people and to be able to get more access to additional resources or to additional people that have the same problem or potential clients or etc. Um, the nice thing that I've seen is that most people are that I talked with, and maybe this is because of those ecosystems I'm with, the different accelerators and incubators, both here in Canada but also international. People that come to those are willing to get advice and to try different things. So it's almost like they're willing to drink from the fountain that we're willing to create for them, um, which I think benefits both sides of that.
Makes sense. I wanted to ask you, because the whole education space, education and training around, product and tech in general has shifted over the last several years. You know, we're both in Toronto right now, and I've noticed over the past several years a lot of major players that were very prominent coding schools and boot camps here.
Mhm.
Hacker U, which turned into Juno College, and Lighthouse Labs, for example, have gone away. They've shut down. Many more have ended their programs or become significantly smaller.
Mhm.
Um, what does that kind of say about what's happening in the ecosystem? Is it just the boot camp bubble is bursting? Is it something to do with AI, like the demand of talent, in coding and technology? What do you think that means?
Mhm. Yeah, it's an interesting question because I was following it more specifically on product management schools, product management programs, and stuff like that. I think that I'm sure that some of the AI got a lot of that um, need out of the way because people are just trying it on their own and they feel maybe that it's enough and they don't need to go deeper than that. Maybe over time they will realize that it's probably not deep enough, and either there will be tools to help them to go deeper or they will seek for that education again. Um, in product management, more specifically, I've seen that because there was not any post secondary education, and there is still, it's quite minimal. There is a few of them, but far and apart that are specifically in product management. There was this gap, and a lot of private organizations were filling that gap, and they do still have programs. But the more the official educational system are teaching those things and it's more mature over there, probably will be less need for those private organizations. So I don't know if that happens also in other technical education, like engineers or whatever that is. Um, and the last thought that I have is that there is so much online and so much opportunities for people to learn either for free online or online courses and stuff like that. So that probably also took a lot of that share from those organizations.
Yeah, I think so. I think, the culture, the economy, sorry, has evolved significantly as well since it started. And even perhaps maybe where people are located, right? Where talent is being hired from, where talent is living.
Mm.
But I think that, just because, some of those schools have shut down or gone away, I think that there still is, of course, a big opportunity to work in tech and to build products.
Hmm.
I'm sure you agree. And the demand is shifting from more general coding schools to more specialized in demand areas. I think that talking a lot more about data and AI and specialty
Hmm.
design and process. So, anyways, I think that's a great place to end it. I appreciate you kind of taking the time to chat, and we'll definitely continue to um, you know tune into your content and your newsletter and see what's happening in the world of product.
Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much. Thanks for your
Yeah.
time. We'll talk to you
Yeah.
soon.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. And if anyone want to reach out to me or check me out on LinkedIn, productsforgood.co is my website, and I have a newsletter like you mentioned. And I would love to hear and chat with anyone that needs help.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.